Good evening. I can't open the show talking about a 6-point week again, can I? People are going to think we're putting out reruns around here, but alas, we are not. FC Cincinnati is still rolling. Last show, I think I compared this club to a speeding train, but I'm starting to think that's a bad analogy. Sure, FC Cincinnati is picking up points like a tooth-hungry fairy nabs molars from under a pillow, but they are showing a lot of defensive discipline. Really, that's what sets Cincy apart from much of Major League Soccer. If you have dug into some of the scores around the league, you'll see a lot of those top 5 teams are putting in a lot of goals, but also many of them getting many goals against them as well. I think if you're a listener, you have a ridiculous level of peace right now. And that's not to say FC Cincinnati can't turn it on when it's mattered most. At the 80th minute, what were you thinking versus Chicago? Like, these guys parked the bus, and yet you saw that flash of skill between Arias and Acosta, and that's all that match needed. I think Chicago put 0 shots on the goal, like 0. That's how good the defense was. So you don't always have to just go 4-2, Columbus. You're listening to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, a podcast that has existed since 2016 through some great times and some pretty bad ones. So we are definitely enjoying this year. Let's get the squad in here because somehow we still have a bunch more soccer to talk about this week, a bunch of soccer last week. This is exciting stuff. First up, let's welcome in the man with the $1 million studio. Bryan, how are you?
I'm good, Boston. How are you, man? It's always fun. It's been a couple weeks since I've been on the show. We've had lots going on, and I haven't actually sat down to watch a game live since I was at TQL when I saw you a few weeks ago. So been watching reruns, and I saw the Chicago match live, so I'm excited to be back, man. I'm excited. Let me tell you this. I was going to save it for my final thought, but I decided to change it because I'm so excited about it. MLS All-Star voting is happening right now, and we've got over a week, and I'm just curious how many FCC players we're going to see on that roster. So we don't have to talk about that, but that's what's on my mind today.
No, it's pretty cool. It's going to be weird, right? Because Wayne Rooney gets to pick some. You know he's picking Acosta. You might as well not even vote for Acosta.
Right?
So it's kind of weird how it all works. And I'm interested to see which ones are fan votes, which ones are coach votes, etc. So do you cheat? I'm just interested. Do you cheat because I know you do a lot of youth soccer and you're a busy guy, so I can understand you don't get to watch all the games on time, but do you check the score before, or are you the kind of guy that no spoilers?
No, I get alerts on my phone, and sometimes I forget to turn them off. So I'd love to watch them without any spoilers. But sometimes it just happens.
Yeah, I get you. All right. Well, next up, we got the CST veteran. Hold on, Bill. It's coming, whether you like it or not.
Spoiled it. Spoiled it for all the. I love the little silhouette picture in the corner too. Very nice touch.
I wasn't ready for you. I apologize for that. But how you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, it's been Bryan said it's been a couple weeks since he's been on. It's been more than a couple weeks since I've been on. So, but still great to be back. Obviously, following the team, playing in the Bailey, marching when I can, and just loving it. I mean, this is, so many years of us trying to lift the team up, and now it's a joy every game. So.
Yeah, I know you sat through some of the worst of it, so I'm glad you get the
it's
payoff.
Tough. It's tough to play the drums and try to act like everything's going well when it just really isn't. But that's what you're there for, right? I mean, you're a supporter, so
just adds to the giddiness. I'm just giddy anymore.
Exactly. It's hard to wipe that smile off your face at the end of the game, right?
All right. Lastly, we'll bring in Bryan Weigel, who declined spending Memorial Day with us, and instead was off doing his own thing. Welcome into the show, buddy.
Yeah, I just had to play my cards right to get on the show with the long-lost Billiam here, so very excited to have him back. I'm just a little sad that you didn't come out guns blazing with our big announcement.
What's that?
You didn't hear the news?
I don't think I did.
What, CST next year is going to be available on the Apple Plus Vision Pro. Let's go. I'm going to be coming into your eye sockets. I'm going to reach out, hit you in the face with the Vision. I can't wait. Look, I don't look as good, but Big Bryan down there, he's gonna look super nice on that HD whatever resolution screen. No, I'm joking, but seriously, all of our friends with the Apple TV MLS season pass, we're excited get back on that train. But no, I'm just excited. Great partnership. Hopefully you can sell a bunch of these Apple things. We'll get Messi into the league. Hopefully, fingers crossed, and talk about a lot more cool things ahead.
All right, so we're gonna tap the CST Apple partnership. I see what you're doing.
Yeah, we gotta do that. Gotta do
Yep.
it. We gotta get those freebies too. I know you've sent us some stuff before, Apple. Now get me one of them vision things. I'll wear it on the screen. It'll look awesome.
If you don't know what Brian's talking about, I think there was some kind of tech nerd announcement today where Apple's stock price went through the
You
roof.
calling me nerd? Are you calling me a nerd? I am.
Supposed to be the next iPhone, so we'll see. All right, let's dive into everyone's best and worst in chat. Throw them in the comments. We'll put them up on the screen and read them out loud to everybody listening to the show. Real quick before we get into that, as you know, Apollo Home is still the premium home service provider in Cincinnati. They pride themselves on awesome customer service, expert technicians, and 7-day-a-week service. Next time you need help with plumbing, electrical work, or HVAC service, give them a call. You can always schedule a service visit online at apollohome.com. or check them out on our website, and it'll take you right there. All right, let's get into the best and worst. Bry, you are up first, sir.
Cool. Yerson Mascara, man. Yes, he's played very well in the field. Got called up to Columbia this past week, so bravo to him. Didn't have his best games. Might be looking a little tired, but I know he got a little fined earlier this week on it, but a guy that gets into the head of teams. He can not only he's great playing on the field. He's another class there, but also just gets guys to make stupid mistakes, like drawing the penalty, like pressuring a guy, getting those little, nudges, cheap shots, whatever you want to call it here and there. But he's affecting the game in more ways than one. And we've never had that. Miazga's done a little bit here and there. I think he's a very good player in terms of letting guys know he's there, but just another time and another way for us to keep thriving and keep winning is having a guy that knows how to professionally play a game, fouls and all. So love Yerson. Hope we can have him here the rest of the season. He's been truly amazing. 2 best of the week, no worst. Natty SC, baby. Got my gear rocking tonight. My Natty SC jersey. Boys played so well, made us proud, went to the death in every game. And that was such an awesome event, the soccer tournament. And I can't wait to see it in its second incarnation next year. We might need to get Manu Ledesma out there next year, get some little on the ball skill action going. But that was a blast seeing those guys. And Jimmy McLaughlin just tearing it up. So that was pretty neat to see.
Stealing some of the comments, although Jay Yates put Natty SC in his worst. He said best hearing the name Ledesma during an FCC game. Yeah, that fooled a lot of people, I think, but it was not our Ledesma. Worst, Natty SC losing 2 close games in the TST group stage. David Moore right behind him. I'm sorry, wrong one. Kevin Michael right behind him. Not FCC, but Natty SC coming up short in the TST. So it's a very frequent. I'm glad everybody got to watch that, though, and have a lot of fun. It was a pretty cool tournament. Another 6-point week is Kevin's best. Let's keep this train rolling. Yeah, man. Back to last week's analogy. There we go. Best, Lucho is money. Worst and positive, we should have had more goals versus Chicago. Don't get greedy there, Clifford. You've only won 9 games in a row at home, my man. Bill, we'll throw it to you.
Well, speaking literally about that and the goals in Chicago, right? We had 1 shot on goal and went in. So that's awesome. But I think for me, the best was just the squad rotation, right? I mean, the fact that we were able to not have a lot of starters out there and still pull it together. Obviously, we saw Acosta up top, and that was a weird formation. We've seen it once before. It's not a very goal heavy formation, but it still creates enough chaos that we can defend and keep the ball out of our half somewhat. And, I think, you look at that rotation, we have to believe that we're going all in for the Open Cup. So for me, not only do I see us getting some rest for our players, but I like the sense that we're probably taking this one serious, and hopefully we go in and stomp Pittsburgh. So worse for me, Yerson, I agree with you, Brian. I love the dark arts. I like that little getting into people's head stuff, but man, he's got to work on his acting a little bit. I think he took some lessons from William Shatner or something. It's just a little over the top. I think maybe, when they got the yellow card, if he wasn't writhing in pain, But I understand in soccer, if you don't draw attention to it, it doesn't get noticed by the ref. So you got to over embellish somewhat. But I think maybe the William Shatner school was just a little too far, right? So we'll just dial it back a little bit. Maybe Patrick Stewart.
Star Trek Shatner
There's
or Priceline?
The one though in this last match, he was right in front of the AR. Like, did he need to dive backwards and embellish that one? It was right in front of his face.
Absolutely, send that message. Piss people off. Do it. Get in their heads. I love it. I want more of it.
In the comments, what's wrong with William Shatner, Bill?
I can't disagree. He's got a great name, but
what is the deal?
Yeah.
Oh man,
Eric Schmidt with a nice one.
Just acts a little too. No, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, Eric, shout out, said taking his daughter to their first ever match at TQL Stadium. Man, that's pretty cool. I don't know how you top that. Joining the march to the match and seeing a winner. I tell you what, I wish I could go back and experience my first match. So that's pretty cool. You got to take your daughter and do that. Nothing like seeing the Bailey and the march for the first time. Woo. All right, Brian.
I'm just thinking you want a Denny Crane version of Shatner. Is that cool, Denny Crane?
Okay.
All right, I'll jump in. How about that? My best this week, right along with Bill, the squad rotation, but my best is really Noonan's confidence, man. I think going into the Open Cup, maybe we do throw everything at it, but he went in against a team in Chicago that we really had to battle back against last time. And he threw out a squad that we hadn't seen on the pitch in that rotation, in that formation, in those positions quite yet. And so, yeah, that was my best, just seeing a coach saying, we can still do this with the guys that we have. Let's see what happens. My worst is I still think we're missing that extra piece in the midfield. When Lucho's on the bench or when Lucho's playing high, we don't have, maybe we've been spoiled with Lucho, but I feel like we've got the players that they're creative, they can slot the ball through. But man, I just felt like Ordonez was kind of lost in that game because we didn't have that player in Acosta sitting behind our strikers that could feed the ball through, and he was making runs. So I'm nitpicking a little bit about that because we have been spoiled with Acosta. But here's the thing, man, we still found a way in the end. We moved him back to the 10. We got some forwards in, and he still got the goal. So that worst, I don't know. Again, nitpicking, but it turned into a best when Lucho put that in the net.
Yeah. No, overall, good points, guys. I'll be quick because we've got a really cool segment here coming up. But my best was, I think I mentioned at the top of the show, 0 shots on goal. When you give your keeper that easy of a job, you're going to win games, just no matter what. So shout out to the back line. I don't know if they get enough. Acosta, some of the attackers and midfielders and Celentano get all the glory, but shout out to that back line that did their job last week. And worst, we haven't sold out the Open Cup guys yet. I don't know what's up with that. Should have that place packed on a Tuesday, but it's filling out. It's filling out pretty nicely. They've opened more sections. I checked tonight. So good on the fans that are coming out, but let's rock this place. You know, we may not get the semifinals at home. So
I've heard the Bailey is going to be full for this one.
It's full. Yeah. The whole entire, the club's sold out. The Bailey's sold out. Even the top is sold out. And now they're moving around a little bit to the other side. Yeah. All right. Let's bring in our Apple TV MLS Season Pass correspondent, Blake Price. Welcome onto the show, Blake.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's been an exciting season. You've quite the established past, your own radio show. Bryan said he listened to you today.
Thank
now
you.
Apple TV broadcaster. What got you sucked into this wild world of soccer we all love?
I'll be honest. It was just a twist of fate. I was involved with the ESPN of Canada. It's called TSN for a long time. And they long had the MLS rights before this crazy Apple deal started. And so there was an opening there. Gosh, right. First kind of normalish year coming out of the pandemic, I guess, after MLS is back. And so I slid into the chair then. And I've been doing a lot of soccer ever since. Did the Canadian broadcasts on radio for the Men's World Cup most recently as well, and have done a little bit of radio for the Vancouver Whitecaps as well. And now I'm flying around North America doing all of Major League Soccer with Apple. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll admit we on the eastern side of Major League Soccer do not get as much coverage, and it's kind of a shame of a lot of the stuff going. I mean, of course, LA always, both of the LA teams steal a lot of the news. You hear about Seattle and Portland every single time they play each other, but teams like Vancouver, I feel like, get left out of the spotlight. But we have noticed the resurgence. Vancouver's like back to life after I think a lot of us left them for dead. What's going on?
Yeah, there's a good reason why you don't see a lot of them. They haven't given you a lot of highlights over the years. They've been a predominantly, defensive counterattack and hold on for dear life kind of team throughout their MLS existence. They have not. They had Camilo Sanvezo years ago, almost a decade ago now, or was a decade ago, who won the Golden Boot. But that is the standalone spike in terms of entertainment in Whitecaps history. They've made the playoffs. They even won one playoff game 5-0 over San Jose a few years back. But, that was the play-in game. It wasn't really the playoffs. By the time they reached the next stage versus the Sounders, they didn't score a single goal. So outside of that one San Jose game, that is the only game they have ever scored playoff goals in, 5 of them, but all in one match. So now this team comes along, and they were expected goals darlings for the first dozen games or so of the season, and you thought, boy, isn't that just Whitecaps? They're good enough to get you the chances, but still aren't scoring goals. Well, finally, and that's what this stat is supposed to be about, is expected goals that should forecast eventual treasures to be found, and that's what we've seen with the Whitecaps. They finally started to make good on the goals. They're scoring the goals. They're keeping the expected goals high as well. So it's not like they've even really redeemed any luck cards here yet. They're merely starting to finish the chances they're creating. So that is a lot of fun for the fans. They're doing it by committee too. They've got Bryan White leading the way in terms of expected goals and in terms of goals, but they've got a lot of other weapons that can beat you as well.
Yeah, Bryan White loves playing against some FC Cincinnati. He played with, I think, against us even when he was in the USL days. So, you guys, or not you guys, you live in Vancouver, but you've broadcast a lot of games for Vancouver this year. And, we've seen wins on the field, a lot of scoring, but we also seen them do very well in their domestic cup, the Canadian Championship, which is going to happen, I believe, Wednesday night versus Montreal. So do you see them, like, when they have to go out and score goals? They've been able to do that there, and it just hasn't transitioned yet. Now they're kind of coming into form.
Yeah, the Canadian Championship probably was a big help in giving them the confidence to score their MLS goals now that have come to fruition. Like they've been scoring goals, and it's like an Open Cup, like the US Open Cup is. You're facing some lesser lights. You don't always convert. You also have to be careful about, dressing a 1B squad and being burned by that. And the Caps have certainly been burned by that in years gone by. The last 2 years, though, and they won this trophy last year, the last 2 years, they've said, enough of this. We're not dressing 1B squads. This is a trophy we can win, so let's go win it. And they've sort of thrown caution to the wind in that regard. It may have cost them a little bit. It didn't translate to a playoff spot last year. They were right on the doorstep, of course, at the end of the season. But they've built up enough equity now, I think, with them being in 6th place in the Western Conference, that they've been able to get away with dressing the 1A squad for the most part, with rare exception. And they're going to do so again. And they did so all week last week. And now getting set for Cincinnati as well. They're going to dress, their best squad for this final. So we'll see what they have left for Cincinnati on the weekend. But yeah, the Canadian Championship has given them the confidence to go out there and score some goals, to remember what that sound is of the ball hitting the mesh, and now they've been able to bring that to Major League Soccer.
I loved your podcast today, having Julian Gressel on there and just talking about how they're amped up and they want to give it all for this Wednesday game. We have a US Open Cup game in Cincinnati Tuesday night, so it's kind of like, how are we going to prioritize? But yeah, it should be a tough, traveling across country. FC Cincinnati hasn't had a ton of success doing that. I think last year we were able to maybe draw in Seattle, but going up to Vancouver, playing on that turf is always a challenge.
Yeah, it's a different speed, and in fact, the turf actually changes speed. So this is a 2-year-old turf now, and it came in super long. Like when we first stepped on it and kicked a ball, to my color commentator Paul Dolan, it didn't reach him. Like, it was so slow, and we're like, oh my god. And we actually saw that play out over the course of the season, that visiting teams would come in and all their passes were short. So the Whitecaps are just picking off passes left, right, and center. But now, after concerts, Luke Combs just sold out the place. Now it's all trampled down, and it's playing at a regular turf speed, the same as you'd see in Seattle or anywhere else. So you might be surprised by that if you're a visiting team. Oh, we heard it's slow, and then all of a sudden it's not so slow. But it is a bit of their secret weapon. The players on the Whitecaps, despite the fact they train all week on grass, they know what this turf behaves like, and so they do have that bit of advantage. And as exhausting as their road trips are everywhere else in Major League Soccer, the reason why their home record is good is because it's exhausting to travel to Vancouver. It's the northwestern outpost of the league, so it's tough to get to in a lot of cases, unless you're Portland or Seattle, of course, and they use that to their advantage to make sure that it's a nice late start time, 10:30 Eastern start time, just to mess with all the Eastern and Seaboard teams.
Yeah, we appreciate that TV spot, by the way. No, I just wanted to. We got a lot of criticism. I think obviously FC Cincinnati has also had an amazing home record, 9-0 at home, doing fantastic there. But lost to St. Louis pretty bad. Over there, I think there's like a tornado, a weird match, and then there was a lot of doubts. Another draw on the road. So last week, coming and answering some of those doubts with that trip to Colorado. How tough with the midweek match for both teams? Do you think it's a home match for them? Are they going to come out rolling for this one?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's going to be a really intriguing week for both of these teams. And, again, I suspect both of them dress their top 11 to start on Wednesday. And then what does everybody have left in the tank on Saturday? Does Vanni Sartini say, okay, listen, we've put everything in this busy schedule on the main 11, 12 guys. I have to work in some rotation. Like, does FC Cincinnati see a half of the starting 11? I have no idea. Maybe Vanni Sartini says, hey, we're still rolling here. The Cincinnati match will be the fourth of 4 home games in a row across all competitions. If they win on Wednesday, they will be 2 wins and a draw in the first 3 of those 4 matches. They might just say, you know what, we really need these points still. It's an absolute, mud bog at the bottom of the Western Conference playoff bracket. They can't. If you lose one match, you're going to slide 4 spots in the standings. You can, make that up the very next week with a win. But do you really want to do that, or do you want to just stay above water? So, I could see Vanni Sartini rolling the dice and just saying, you know what, we're on a roll here. Especially if they win. If they win on Wednesday, I could see him saying, you know what, forget it. We're going to go with all the 11 and just dress our best guys again against Cincinnati. We'll have to see. It could go either way.
Now, this is a little off topic here, Blake, but Cincinnati has been known to travel. I'm not sure how many people will be able to go across the border, but
there was Kansas City fans, so there's an expectation. If they can make it from KC, you can make it from KC. Yeah.
All right. It's still like 10 hours west of us, Kansas City. But no, you're from that area. If there's a spot that our guys are traveling up to, our supporters are traveling up to, that they need to go and check out, whether it's food or tourism, or what's your favorite spot to suggest to people to go check out your lovely city?
Well, it's a bit cliched for us, but you really should do it. I mean, for those that don't know the setup of Vancouver, ocean right at our door. There's about a mile of flatness, and then it goes straight up into mountains, basically. So it's the mountains are way more proximal than you'll find in Seattle or San Francisco or anything. The mountains are right there, and so if you go up to, there's 3 local ski hills in the city. All of them have great views. You can go to any of them, but Grouse Mountain has a tram that takes you right to the top. You can eat dinner at the top. And we haven't seen a cloud in 2 weeks. If the weather's the same this weekend, which I think it is forecasted to be, you can have a beer or dinner up at the top and see 270-degree views of the ocean and the mountains and everything. It's pretty spectacular. So we have to pinch ourselves here. It's a pretty beautiful city, not to brag. And on my commute going over our Lionsgate Bridge, which is sort of like Golden Gate, you sort of, you have to remind yourself of how awesome it is, because you just kind of get into a laze of, oh yeah, it's just our city, but it's pretty fun to look at.
Who wants to go to Vancouver?
Yeah. You should, all of you. I'll take care of you. Come on down.
Much
I'm looking at flights right now.
Yeah,
much better, much cleaner than Seattle, right?
I love Seattle. It's very different. I love Seattle too. Seattle, I would say Seattle might have better eating, mildly better eating than
You
we
dodged
have.
that trap. You
Yeah.
right around. Oh man, yeah, well, I'm pretty excited about this. There's not enough, unfortunately, just due to the way the schedule is. Eastern Western battles. This is our last Western Conference game for the year. And
The fun part about that, if I can interject, is you don't have to worry about giving the other guy other points, and we see this in every other sport that has Western Conference and Eastern Conference, of course, too. Is why not go for it, right? Why not take that little bit of a risk? Because heck, if we give up if we get a draw instead of a win, not the end of the world. So that's the fun part of the East versus West stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you about this just because it's very recent. Last night, LAFC battled through CONCACAF Champions League, ended up losing to Lyon, I believe. So because of that, they are many, many matches behind the rest of the league. If they would win them all, they would be just under, I think, FC Cincinnati's point total in Supporter Shield race. From where you're sitting, and we have to ask this because the ESPN and everybody else is still rating LA pretty high. Are they as dangerous as we're hearing?
They are. I mean, Vanni Sartini, head coach of the Whitecaps, says it a lot. He says, we are as good as anybody. I have to check this. Does he say West or League? I think he says League. As good as anybody except LAFC. And you won't hear that usually. Usually coaches fall into cliches and say, we're as good as anybody in the league. He actually does take out LAFC and put them on a pedestal above. I've seen LAFC up close this year. I'm intrigued by Cincinnati to see sort of the differences and how they go about things. So yeah, LAFC is really good. They are. They're very good. And after seeing Seattle, who have been at the top of the West a little bit this year as well, Seattle's beatable. They're a good team. Not gonna slam the Sounders here, but they're not you can't touch them. Seattle's a beatable team. You can beat Seattle.
We beat them.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly, as well. So, LAFC does seem to just, honestly, they're not their B team, but their 1B team is pretty darn good. And then if they dress everybody, they're 11. Man, that's a really good team. So I'll reserve judgment in the comparison until I've seen Cincy up close and personal, but they're really good, LAFC. Yeah,
it's unfortunate. I don't think we get to go head to head. If we do, it'll be in the Major League Soccer Cup
when it matters.
Yeah. All right. Well, any of you guys have any other questions, or we will free you up and we'll dive into Pittsburgh Open Cup talk.
Sounds
all
good.
right. All right.
Thank you very much.
Things are good. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by. We really appreciate it. This is an awesome program you guys do, and take time out of your days and nights. I guess it's still day there.
Still sunny. I'm going to go out there.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's Blake Price. We appreciate him stopping by. We absolutely love that program, and we are going to just dive right into it, guys. I know. You know what? We should give Beyond Exercise an ad read here first. So we'll throw it to Nick Suberling, and then the thing everybody wants to talk about: US Open Cup Quarterfinals.
Beyond Exercise is a locally owned physical therapy and fitness facility that helps people prevent and rehab from injuries, improve fitness and athleticism, and recover from strains of daily life. In fact, they've worked with a couple of your FCC starting 11 over the past 3 off seasons. Check out their website to see who these players are and to see the range of services they provide to keep you pain-free and moving well at GoBeyondExercise.com.
All right. We are back at it. FC Cincinnati, of course, had an amazing week. Win at New York City FC, and then home again versus Chicago. No rest for the weary, though. You've got Pittsburgh tomorrow, and then, as you have learned by now, Vancouver on Saturday. So we keep bringing up rest. We keep bringing up rotation. We finally saw a little bit of it this week, not from players like Acosta. We did. I do want to point this out. Noonan had a comment this week saying he checks with Acosta before the matches and sees where he's at physically. And if Acosta convinces him that he's fine, he runs him out. So that seems to be the dynamic on that front. I think we are fortunate we saw FCC get a little bit more rest versus Chicago, but we're getting to the point, Bill, right? We have to be getting to the point where the US Open Cup is now a serious competition. I would think.
I mean, I believe it 100%. I couldn't imagine that we would not take this so serious. I mean, it's down to 8 teams, 3 games, 3 games, and you lift a trophy. I mean, to me, that's so close that it would almost be criminal to roll in a B team on this one.
I mean, you're playing a USL team, so I think you got a little bit of wiggle room there, especially without their 2 best strikers.
That's what New England thought. That's what
Yeah, but
Columbus thought. Yeah.
They have Bobby Wood. Come on, that's not serious.
Yeah.
No, I think you do what we did versus with Louisville. You play hard for 60 minutes and you bring in your guys. Same thing what we did at Chicago. You give them some time, let our legs rest a little bit, because I mean, even Moreno's getting called up to Venezuela. You're going to probably have some U.S. games coming up with Brandon Vasquez. We'll see what happens there, but I think you gotta be smart, man. Gotta take your time.
I think we've seen it a number of times. You already mentioned it, Bri, that we rest our starters, we bring them in late in games, and it's not going to be unheard of to do it this time. We've seen it work. We've seen it work against good MLS teams and here recently. And I don't know. I think we rest some of those guys. Maybe Lucho, you can't get him off the field. Maybe that was the deal, right? Putting him up high, giving him a little rest. Don't run all over the field. Just walk a little bit. But we'll see, man. I don't know what's going to happen with that one.
I think Bryan's going to try to lose us the game.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think Pittsburgh is built for that, right? I mean, I think they enjoyed that game against Columbus, right? You get that one goal, and then you just hold on and hold on and hold on. And
yeah, but Columbus didn't have their tools that
I
were
agree.
going to be able.
I
They
agree.
didn't even have a guy as good as Yu Yakuba to bring in that match. I mean,
Yeah.
they didn't even travel.
Yeah, I
some
think
of
that
their
was a
starters.
huge mistake for them, right? I mean, that is one thing I will say about Noonan is he's been very smart about getting the rest, but having the tools on the bench. And we saw that in other cases. Chicago obviously was a great example the first time we played them, right?
Mhm.
Where Acosta
Mhm.
was mending, but he put him out. He had him on the bench, brought him out at the right time, and we've seen that with other games as well. I think Louisville, if I remember, was okay, and then we brought in all our starters at the end, and boom. So
I'm not saying that we roll out, an Apunonu, Ian Murphy, and somebody else at that, another MLS2 guy. I'm saying manage it how you did with one of Miazga or Mascara in there with Ian Murphy, and maybe it is, I guess, our starting back 3 right now because Hagelin's hurt, so you never know.
Hagelin was on the bench for the last game.
Okay, but even still, if you put Apunonu in there, Miazga and Murphy, that's still a very good defense. And you have the depth on this team to put a Malik Pinto and Marco Angulo in there. And you need to say to those guys, this is your tournament. Go win us. Go prove it. Like Marco Angulo, I thought played very well in 40 minute span versus Chicago. Let him go and earn some time. And I want to see those guys go out and prove it. And you have Yakubo and Brandon Vasquez and Junior and Acosta and Don Baji to bring on with 20, 30 minutes to go. I mean, if Kini Ordonez can't beat Pittsburgh, come on.
Well, I think we've rested people. I mean, coming into this game. So my feeling is that it's not so concerning at this point. And then we have time after Vancouver to rest as well, so we can push a little bit. I will say I have one serious concern as far as players and fatigue, and that's Bariel, because I don't think we've ever really rested him, and he's starting to look pretty toasted. So I wonder about him. Should he take one off? So.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd hate to see him take this one off. I do want to see us go all out. I do want to see us win, but I don't think that we have guys that are there. Maybe that's the only place. And, if Lucho's not in the 10, that we really have holes on the field that can't keep up with the Pittsburgh in a US Open Cup game. So maybe that, I don't know who we put there. We've talked about this a number of times, who we put there on the left side that can run like he does, but I don't think we've got a bad squad to put out there right now.
Ray Gaddis.
Is that
Didn't Arias play on the left?
Is that a you want Ray Gaddis or you don't want Ray Gaddis?
You said mobile, so I went the opposite way.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, I we're deep enough, and people say the same thing with like Leagues Cup. Like, I want to win that. I want to show well versus teams on our continent. I look at the US Open Cup, and I think we even had this discussion this past week. I think they should take Major League Soccer teams out of the US Open Cup. Personally, I don't think it adds anything. There's no value in the cup commercially. There's a CONCACAF Champions League spot, and now with all these additional CONCACAF Champions League spots, this tournament is again being devalued, and I just don't see the value in it for Major League Soccer teams anymore. I'm sorry. That's true.
It's still the easiest CCL spot to get.
How? You have to win like 8 games.
But now it's easiest.
Well, now it is because we have 3
There's only 3 to go.
US Open Cup, and then watch Birmingham win. We got another USL team. Like, come on,
in my opinion, from where we are sitting right now, and then it is a little easier because half these games are against USL teams. We played Louisville, we'll play Pittsburgh. We'll
a
play
lot of MLS teams won't take it serious until it gets to about this point.
Yeah, I think it's easier. It's a lot easier than winning Supporter Shield. I mean.
So here's my take on Open Cup. I understand, some teams just aren't going to take it as serious. Some teams can't take it as serious. But I do think if you look at this cup, it does really give something. I mean, FC Cincinnati is doing great, right? We don't need Open Cup. We're happy with the league right now. And you can see that we're not even selling out the games. But look at LAFC. Look what it meant to them to be at this point in this season. I mean, they're doing terrible in the league. This was a breath of fresh air for them to beat. I'm sorry, LA Galaxy. LA Galaxy.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I had it backwards.
LAFC is third,
yeah.
bro.
Yeah, but LA Galaxy, right? They beat LAFC, and they continued through. It gave them a bump, and I think for some teams, this is a chance to do something in the league that's not currently like happening for them.
All right, Sean Pace on YouTube. Whoa, hard disagree. We always talk about history and tradition in the sport. We get it, and you want to cast it aside. It is silverware, and I want it. I kind of look at the US Open Cup kind of like the NIT in college basketball. It was relevant at one time. It's not relevant anymore. I'm a Xavier fan. I wanted them to win it in the last year in Madison Square Garden, and when it left Madison Square Garden, nobody gave a crap anymore. You had UC playing at Utah Valley, who knows where, and that's kind of what this is now. I'm sorry, and I'm glad, but when's the last time anybody in the U.S. said as a positive about soccer history? That's never brought up.
Sean, you're 100% right, and Bryan Weigel won't be on this podcast next week.
You should see my private messages right now.
Yeah, at Bryan Weigel.
You should. Please do. Sean, none of this is personal. I
agree with Sean. We don't have an Open Cup to our name. We don't have any trophy to our name.
Bull, USL Shield. Shut your mouth. USL Shield.
I was going there, but this will mean a lot, I think. Anything can happen the rest of this year. The only thing we can control is what's right in front of us, and I think that's handling Pittsburgh.
Clifford Adams, the NIT isn't a tournament that occurs within a regular season schedule. I'm sorry, the Maui Invitational is more prestigious than the NIT. Sorry, boom, roasted.
I want to pick up what Sean was talking about the history, right? The richness of this in our city of Cincinnati. This is the tournament that put us on the map, right? And we don't have one to our name. I would love to at least get that first one.
And then crush it.
I don't know about that. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how we celebrate. Let's see how we get behind this team once they get there. But I'd like to see us take the tournament that put us on the map in the first place.
Bill Wolf was down there year one when we won the esteemed preseason tournament and $10,000, I think, right, Bill Wolf?
I was not down there year one. No, I went down.
All right.
Yeah.
Everybody just forgets too the convenient factor that St. Louis also beat us one year, and so that's really important. And that same year, we're like, oh, whatever, it's US Open Cup.
The reason I bring it up is because
crap.
Bryan was so excited back in 2016
I meant to press mute, and I removed myself from the stream.
Yeah, it's like,
I thought one of
and
these
Bryan
guys
has
did
been
it.
fired.
Brian must have had a bad night. He's getting a little
Oh,
hot
yes.
over this.
Amazing night.
No, the Open Cup doesn't matter if you lose. It always matters when
See?
you're in it.
This is crap.
But really that's just a self-defense mechanism. It's you are pissed you lost, and so it doesn't matter anyway, it's a dumb tournament. But that's always just a self-defense mechanism, in my opinion. It does matter, and everybody knows it matters.
Oh, shoot. Oh, Eric Turner, I love you right now. We are the IMG Pro Classic champions.
There it
I
is.
love you, Eric. You're
I
my
couldn't remember what it
boy.
was called.
Coltrane. It looks like he's killing it too. Oh man, that's hilarious. Caribou Cup and the FA Cup. Yes, FA Cup and Caribou Cup are awesome, but those actually have history. Real, like meaningful.
You know something has history.
I
when
think
you-
so. Here's
when
the
you
thing.
create that history.
The US Open Cup should still be here. It just shouldn't be with Major League Soccer teams. It should be with USL and NPSL, and then the winner of it gets to play the MLS Cup champion in the first game next year, like the Community Shield or whatever they call it. I think that would be tremendous.
I think the problem with that, though, is then it becomes meaningless to USL. I mean, it gets them one game against the MLS Cup.
They get
champion,
a direct
but as they-
invite into the Champions League. It's a better deal for them. It's
For
better.
one of them. For
Oh,
one
you're
of
still
them.
saying they
It's
get that
better.
spot in the Champions League?
Sure.
Okay.
That doesn't mean anything anyway. Oh, great. We can have a 1 in 18 chance of playing Real Madrid.
Yeah, but I think CONCACAF's like
Dude,
great.
I'm
going
going
to
to get
team that's going to get
so
railroaded.
much hate mail.
You deserve every ounce of that hate mail.
Somebody has to take this stand.
Just-
I'm going to take it.
Just brace.
Somebody has to take it, but you're still
Dude, it's
wrong.
gonna be awful.
Well,
gonna be awful. I can't.
I'm glad that Pat Noonan that Brian Weigel is not leading our team, and Pat Noonan is, because I think he's taking this a lot more seriously.
Hey, if Major League Soccer wants to, and I'm all seriousness here, if Major League Soccer wants to be serious and they want to add 4 senior roster spots, my stance would 100% change. If you want to add $1 million in salary cap and 4 senior roster spots, and you actually have the accurate depth to go and win this and all the other tournaments, all for it. Big brain stuff over here tonight, boys.
I don't know.
And ladies listening, sorry, equal opportunity.
LAFC already has won 2 tournaments in a year. There's with the current setup, there's no reason you can't still do it. Just saying.
David Moore, what kind of Weigel's Wheaties? I eat Jimmy Dean breakfast sandwiches, y'all.
All right, we know what to stay away from. All right, let's talk a little bit about FC Cincinnati over the past week. Brian, I really like the point you wrote down here. FCC got into the heads of their opponent. It's something I haven't seen in a long time. It was pretty cool. Holy yellow cards. That referee was passing them out like they were candy.
We'll go with another hot topic tonight. So yes, people are talking about the referee, and I got so pissed at the NYCFC fans about this. When you come into tackles 0.3 of a second late, what do you expect? It's not all like they're saying, "Oh, FCC sumo tackle people." Like, these guys literally were just being outclassed by FC Cincinnati. And I put that on a couple things. I put that on the leadership of Lucho Costa, organizing and keeping the heads of his teammates, letting Barrial get confidence in a meaningful situation, taking that free kick, letting Vasquez take that penalty kick. That all goes back to Lucho keeping the presence of mind with his team, and then also Miazga and the defense and Mascara putting some shots in and letting people know they're there. It was a complete effort, mentality, and on the field, and we haven't seen that from FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, I was waiting. I didn't know who was going to jump in there.
No, I was waiting for you.
Boston looked like he was about to say something, so I was going to let him speak. Yeah, that kind of makes me nervous, though, going into these games when refs are passing out the yellow cards and our guys getting into the heads of the opponent. Like, I love seeing it. I love when it works, but when it doesn't and our guys start losing their heads and, taking dives and getting fined and that kind of thing, makes me a little nervous, especially with all the guys we have sitting on yellow cards right now. It's a fine line to walk. I think they did it well that match, but it's a fine line, man. I get a little nervous when games get a little chippy like that because we've seen it go south. We've seen it go the other direction against our team.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
see
I'm just-
Lucho Costa putting his hands up and walking away. That's a new man.
That is a new man. That's not what you normally see, right?
Yeah, normally he'll chest bump him, right?
Yeah.
So don't choke, Brian.
How about the ref in this last match against Chicago chasing down Miazga after that corner kick? Like, I don't see that often either. The ref calls him over, and this guy chased him down, so he wanted a piece of whatever Miazga was dishing out that night.
I learned you can only wave off the ref 3 times because Mizzy did 1, 2 come-ons, and then he did a third. Come on.
It's
And
not
that's
waving
what-
him off.
That's
but
what got him.
this? What's this?
Yeah.
If you could see my YouTube, it's the Miazga reverse raptor claws, but backwards. What are you doing? Learned it in Italy.
Oh man, Bill, what were you going to say? You were about to jump in there, I think.
I was back on the New York thing, but I was saying after that game with all the yellow cards, I was like kind of reliving like in my mind like New York, and I was thinking, man, don't we always have a problem with New York City? Like so many fouls
We
and
do.
yellows and problems. I actually looked; it wasn't so bad last year. I was under the impression it was really bad, but it was 2020 or 2021. Sorry, that was so bad. That September game where we had 2 red cards given to us. It was like 9 yellows and 2 reds. So it was almost the same thing, but of course we took the bad end of it. So.
Was that the one at TQL and they called the match? It seemed, I think the ref called it like 2 minutes early or something in the 88th or 89th
He just
minute.
got disgusted or something and just called the
Yeah.
game off.
Yeah, I was at that.
No,
match.
there
That
was some
wild.
stoppage time though, because I think Bariel was one of the ones that got the red card in stoppage.
Mm.
Yeah.
This
Speaking of, while we're on the topic of of yellow cards, real quick, I know we're past this topic right now.
go for it.
US Open Cup yellow card rules. I was under the impression it was 2 yellow cards and removed, but apparently it's 3.
Oh, good.
So we only have all of our guys are max 1 right now. So Jimenez, Obi, Mascara, Miazga, Arias, Baji, and Barial all have 1 yellow card in US Open Cup play. So sorry.
Okay. That's a good.
Does that
shout.
count in the final, or do they reset it in the final?
Wow.
Sometimes they'll do that, right?
I don't care as long as they can get there.
He only read half the rules, Bill.
Where is
No. You guys want to know something hilarious? Is that if you go through all the US Open Cup stuff for 2023, guess what it says? Please refer to 2022 rules. Hilarious. US Open, baby. See, that's how much they take it seriously.
Yeah.
And if you go to the 2022 rules, it says please see 2021.
Somehow I got into the back end of the US Open Cup like registration page today, and you would just laugh. They refer to dial-up internet instructions in that booklet. It's hilarious.
Oh man.
So let me get this straight. The guy that doesn't care about the Open Cup is reading the hand. Something I've never even thought to do.
I didn't say I didn't care for it. I'm just saying it has little use. And I want to win it, and then I want it to be gone. Clearly. Like the NIT don't want Xavier to ever play in it again because they won it in Madison Square Garden. It's not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Ben talks Chelsea on YouTube. Brian, how will you react if we win the US Open Cup?
Oh, yeah, I'll be pumped. But again, afterwards, like I'm just gonna laugh at Louisville City so hard. Just give it to them. Love it. Sorry. That's what I'm gonna do.
I just hope it's an annual tradition. That's why I want the Open Cup to stick around. An annual tradition. Lou City comes here, gets knocked out. Just unceremoniously.
I really do want to go down there and play once. So maybe next year.
Never want to play on
okay,
that
so-
field. Never want to play on that pitch.
But seriously,
Yeah.
if you take away, man, we're going to beat a dead horse here. But if you take away the U.S. Open Cup, you lose the ability to play the Louisvilles.
So sad.
I don't know. There's still something. About
Give me Chivas or Club America any day of the
what?
week.
No one is excited about that League Cup game. What's being forced on us?
Yeah, well, I would rather play Louisville than Kansas City in the League's Cup.
Them games versus AFC Cleveland, baby. That's the ones I remember. I'll tell you what.
Well, yeah.
Holy moly.
Well, you remember
Bring
Detroit?
back the Dayton Dynamo. That's what I want to see.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I don't know. The
Sure,
Open Cup
maybe
has a
proud of
special
that one.
place. I don't even know if we'd have an MLS team if it was for the U.S. Open Cup.
Again, you guys are factually inaccurate. If we implemented my strategy, FC Cincinnati could win and still play a lower division side once every 30 years. Well, probably since we actually care, probably more than that. If we were the Reds, it'd be like once every 100 years.
Can I jump in and ask about the yellow card situation here for a second? I know, how many is Barreal sitting on right now?
For
Because I
what?
thought this
Oh,
was just,
In the league, it's 4 now.
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
back on that
okay. Did they drop one? Because
Yes.
I thought he
Yeah.
was sitting on 4. Okay.
after New
Yeah,
York.
every 5 games you get to drop one. So he just
Gotcha.
I think he just dropped it and then he got one back.
Yep. I missed that. I thought he was on 5 now.
For all those at home, Barreal, Mizzy, Mascara, and Acosta are all on 4 yellow cards.
Did you say Mizzy?
Yeah, that's because I can't say his name right.
Miyazaga? Is that who you're talking about?
Oh, man.
All right.
I'm not even drunk tonight, people. This is great.
We're
Just
going to-
emotionally abused. That's what I am tonight.
All right. Besides the yellow card fest in New York City, I noticed one other thing. And that was, to me, that was like the moment Acosta became the true leader of this team. And I know he's worn the captain's badge, but it's taken a lot longer for me to like accept that it wasn't Hagland or somebody else, on the back line. But Acosta just, man, in my opinion, blew me away with how he handled that game, giving Barreal the free kick to take the 3rd goal. Of course, Vasquez giving him the PK because what it sounded like after the game when you talk to the player interviews, Acosta took blame for overhitting that ball to begin with and not giving Vasquez a fair chance on it. So going ahead and giving it to him as a PK. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but just he's blown me away the last few weeks, and to continue that again this week with the go ahead goal.
I've seen that as well. The way he stepped up his leadership there. I wondered if he gave Barreal that free kick or if someone told him to let Barreal take a crack at it, which I'm glad, whichever happened, I'm glad it did. I think Barreal should have been taking those for a long time, but I was shocked. I was shocked when he gave up the PK to Vasquez. So I do think his leadership, he's really stepped up there. I don't see him quite in the ref's face as often as he has been early on in the season. So there's some maturity that's happening there that I really like to see on the field.
All right, let's talk about meaningful, meaningless stuff. Okay. Dead serious right now, boys.
I'm scared.
You should be scared. So
Brian's had enough.
previously,
I thought we had that conversation
Brenner-
about the US Open Cup.
Previously, Brenner was always announced last. And then when Vasquez got into form in the home introductions, Vasquez got announced last. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Lucho needs to be announced last. He's the man. He needs to be doing it. Come on, PA announcer. You listen to this podcast. He needs to be announced last. Number 1 in our hearts.
You think he sets the graphics though?
Well, they never get the graphics right anyway, so jeez, I am slaying tonight.
Is it so? As one who's not in the stadium as often, is Vasquez still announced last, or is it somebody else this season?
I think they probably do the forwards last.
Yeah,
No,
they did
not
the forwards last.
Yeah, not last match. Ordonez got it. They said this
Ooh,
from Cincinnati.
really?
Oh,
Yeah.
they did. You are
Yep.
correct.
Yeah, and they gave
Really?
it to
Yeah,
Ordonez.
they gave it to the hometown boy.
Okay, I think they need to do it to Lucho.
I saw a lot of eyebrows raised by that. By the way, Bill, I don't think a lot of people knew he was from here.
Meaningful, meaningless. I'm telling you, we got to do it.
Cincinnati likes their own, right?
Yeah, they really do.
Right on.
So do we need to get Lucho to change the capital tattoo on his neck to like the Career Tower?
Jeez, you really have got on the deep end there, but
Wow.
Hey, that was hilarious. There's going to be like 3 people that are just laughing their tails off in the car on Tuesday morning.
Will there?
To
Okay, I'll laugh. Thank you. Appreciate it.
if you keep going, we're not going to get to this email you put in here from Jake. You want to read that off?
Oh, crap.
Yeah, well,
Thank you for the forewarning me. Email from Jake from State Farm. In the Chicago match, Noonan started Acosta alongside Ordonez as a forward for the second time this year before shifting him back to the 10 in the second half. After Noonan praised his performance up top. What am I missing? It seemed to me that both times Acosta's impact on the match is significantly hindered when he is stuck up so high. I'm going to throw one over to Coach. Coach. No, I've been kind of going through this thought process in my mind of who's the one that's doing the hold up play right now. And it's kind of, I mean, yes, standardly like long ball, Vasquez pulls it down, but there's a lot of times where they hit that relief valve to Acosta and he has to hold on to the ball and get runners going ahead of him. So I think when he is up top next to Ordonez or maybe Kubo, maybe there's not enough guys getting time to get in the attack. So he has 2 outlets in Vasquez and Baji versus 1, and that's not as effective of an option. So I think that's something there. He's fulfilling a lot of the same stuff. I still think we're missing that technical forward that we need next to Vasquez to help us, maintain the ability to keep possession and throw it, down the throat of the opposing center backs a little bit more. But I think it's fine for 60 minutes, but we also don't really line up very well for Chicago. Don't know why that is. Coach, later this week.
Yeah, I've always kind of viewed it more as it seemed like it was either just a situation where we were resting people, and because of the people we had, that was a choice that was made. It may also, in my mind, be a little bit of resting Acosta. I think if he's told to stay high, he's not going to run as hard as he does when he's playing that true 10 position. He tracks all the way back to goal. He'll run he runs the entire field. There's no place on that field he doesn't run. I think when he's up top, sometimes it's a little bit about trying to keep those legs fresh as much as they can with keeping them on the field. So,
yeah, I think the question though in the email was, I agree with you, Bill. I think it is, he was resting him. He was putting him up high. Don't run as much. But I think the question is Noonan's praise of him afterwards. And I thought I had some similar questions, right? Maybe it is the hold up play, Bryan, that you mentioned, but he didn't get the ball as much. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's the chances he created when he did get the ball. I do think I mentioned it earlier. Ordonez was kind of lost on the field. I didn't see him involved in a whole lot. He had a couple runs through, and maybe maybe it is that hold up play. He doesn't have the lanes to pass through that he normally does, so he's kind of stuck out on the outside there. And but yeah, I don't know that there was, other than the hold up play, what is to be praised. He kept possession, but maybe it was just he didn't have the guys running off of it. Maybe that's all it was.
Yeah, but if you're a coach or a manager or whatever title we want to give Noonan, right? And you ask somebody to do something that maybe they don't want to do as much or they don't prefer to do, but they do what you ask. What's the best way to encourage them to listen to you again is to praise them and tell them what a great job they did, right? So I'm not saying that Noonan's full of shit, but I mean, let's just say, that, he probably wanted to say, hey, good job. Thank you for doing what I asked. It made
That's a good point.
$15, Bill Wolf.
I'll put it in the jar.
Swear jar.
Guys, Acosta looked like a forward to me when he took that long ball from Arias.
Oh my God. So, okay. So that's
he was in the 10 spot, right? At that point, he had dropped
Yeah,
back.
he was,
and
yes,
that run.
Yeah, he was. Vasquez was technically in front of him at the start of that play, but Acosta left him in the dust.
But didn't that play remind you of the other Chicago game? Except instead of Acosta kicking the ball, it was Arias kicking the ball, and then Acosta receives it instead of Santos. I mean, it's literally the same ball.
The one it reminded me of was the Wayne Rooney ball to Lucho several years ago that Lucho got his head on.
That was a little deeper.
This time he brought it down. It was beautiful. That was the same ball right there too.
Yeah.
I hope that play gives Arias the confidence that he needs to get back on the field and take that right back spot. Arias is not playing very well defensively, but nothing is coming out of that right wing offensively. And any little bit there, giving him, hey man, just serve it up to Vasquez. Give him a cross in, man. I think that's where last year, Alvis Powell he wasn't always great, but he would just get one ball into Vasquez every week, and we're just missing that right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jake, I'm not sure if we answered your question fully. I tend to agree with these guys. Once Acosta shifts backwards, all of a sudden we become more alive. And I think that's Noonan has said many times, Acosta has the freedom to go on wherever he wants to on that field. And Acosta ends up in the place that he's needed most of the time. And that most of the time that ends up being the upper midfield. So especially getting that ball through there. If you don't have, especially if you don't have like somebody like Junior Mourinho in there, Acosta has to do a lot more work, in my opinion. Well, we want to give a shout out to everybody that supports Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We are in round 2 of the Growler Cup, and we are 3 games in. Those of you that are picking wins are doing well. Those of you that think FC Cincinnati will tie, like myself, and have picked 3 draws in a row, are doing awful, and we are paying for it. So congratulations to the majority of you. It is not too late, though, to get in. You can pick against the herd and catch up quite quickly in the event that things go awry. Let's give a shout out to Red Lee, John Davidson, Mike Hudson, Laurel Failer, Matthew Adamczyk, Riley Stephen Burke, James Denbrough, Tom Newhouse, Brian Weigel, Brian Gills, Dan Alberts, Will Kychek, Ian Rexroad, Carl Fight, Christina Sharma, Kyle Pohl, Rupesh, Tom Beaversdorf, Jason, who is super average, John Haskell, Ryan Ernst, Mary Lou, Wes Anastasi, Rob Pierce, Clifford Adams, Thomas Steps, Pierce Johnson, Mike Parentis, Dave Wiederhold, Rob Gassell, Bradley Weigel, Kevin Day, Paul Hedger, Jamie Smed, Alex Carnegus, Dave Tingler, Patrick Lahani, Mike Bowman, Brett Sova. Let's see here. Kevin Cooney, Joe Max, Jack Emery, Sarah Gorman, David Moore, Bob Ryan, Ryan Durkin, Bark Labita, Rob Triple, Joe Lohr, Bill Leopold, Maureen De Moray, Jose, David Myers, John Kafari, Olympico, Joseph of Hanger, 937, Jackson Fight. Thanks for signing up. Justin Blair, Kyle Phillips, Ashley Newhouse, Dan Burns, Tyler Nolan, Coach Clip, Justin Gurry, Scott Dalton, Jason Ashcraft, Jeffrey Tebbets, Troll, and a brand new Matt Bauer. We appreciate you for just signing up here this week and supporting Cincinnati Soccer Talk over on Patreon. You can also find it cincinnati-soccertalk.com/support. Thank you for making this list so long that I struggle to make it through. And that's a shout out to FCC fans everywhere for keeping CST free for the masses. All right. Bryan, give a shout out to our good friend, Jeffrey Tebbets. I'm not sure if he's still on, but that man's worked his butt off this week. I mean, we got a brand new podcast, articles. What's going on over there?
Which Bryan?
I don't even care.
It must be you. Jeff's done a fantastic job, but I'll let you take this one.
Boston's names, pronunciations, butch. No, our boy Jeff, man, is cranking out. He has a great, what do you call it? Talking Tactics, but it's Jersey Swap podcast with Pittsburgh. So if you want to lead up with Pittsburgh, on your ear holes, great, and another great chance to listen to a wonderful podcast from Jeff. He's been doing great things. So go check it out. Again, he's the man, myth, the legend, being in the press box, asking tough questions of coaches. So we appreciate him and love him. He's a great addition, and check it out.
Somebody said, I want to hear Boston read the supporter names to the tune of We Didn't Start the Fire. All right, Kevin, you know what?
Yeah. Challenge accepted. Yeah,
I'll try it. I'll try it. If you here in the next couple of weeks, we'll see what I can do. Might need to practice in the car on the way to work, and see what I can muster.
Please practice it with Kana and let her videotape it first.
I can't test that patience. That's a lot.
No, it'd be more fun if you don't try to test at all. Just wing it. Just go for it.
You know what? You need to get one of them
YOLO right
orange.
there, man.
You need to get one of them orange man suits and like a green screen back here, and then like dance like that. Like what's that one show on Cartoon Network at night, and then do it to that. That's what we need. Yes.
Yeah. I might sing it. Dancing, probably.
Got to do it, man.
We're gonna need a lot more supporters.
Hey, the previous host
He
of the
sings,
show,
Brian
painted
Weigel
up.
dances.
Hey, Superlink painted up once, man. You got to do it. I think we got to do a fundraiser for this. Yes.
I'm not even putting that out there. That's. I'm not testing a bunch of FC's the Cincinnati fans when they're high as a kite from winning. They'll do it. They'll do whatever you say to do. All right.
Truth.
Things are going well in FC Cincinnati land, but across the league, there's some surprising results. A lot of teams not doing so well. And now you're talking big spenders, the Miami, Galaxy. I don't know how much you guys pay attention to the rest of the league, but this is a weird year, right? Put us out of the equation for a second.
So I think what you're referring to is Miami, Inter Miami protesting Phil Neville, LA Galaxy protesting was it Chris Klein?
Yeah, Klein,
whatever his name is, Chris Klein, or Calvin Klein. And then NYCFC going loco on James Sands. So that was fun. But in all seriousness, like I'm just more proud that our fan base was committed through. I mean, yes, we were all very upset, Don't get me wrong, but we were committed through the first 3 years. And these guys are kind of spoiled brats a little bit, honestly. Okay, I get a little bit with Inter Miami. They've underperformed, but Phil Neville's a scapegoat. He really wasn't wrong. And there might be other things there with Leo Messi and all that stuff. But Chris Klein definitely was terrible in LA, but they won 5 years ago or something, 6 years ago. So NYCFC won the title 2 years ago. Come on, can we be a little bit better before we go crazy loco on our front office staff? I mean, come on. I mean, yes, you need to demand better, but I'm just proud of our people. Yeah, we did take banners down, but come on, I mean, it's kind of worth it.
That's right.
I spoken like a Cincinnati fan, though, right? That hasn't won a championship in a long, long time.
Dude.
That, 6 years ago, but if you're used to winning like that, I don't know. I don't agree with it. The video that the guy went crazy on James Sands this week was pretty ridiculous, telling them they're not trying hard enough. They need to work harder. It was just pretty ridiculous, but
I'm all for going after Phil Castellini, though, or whatever. Who's the guy, the Castellini son? Whatever. Phil. Yeah, Phil Castellini. Yeah, all for that. Where are you going to go? But
shout out to the Reddit fan last week that said, "Hey, when FC Cincinnati sucked, year 3, we all got together and we mailed wooden spoons to the front office." And he was like, "What?" He said, "What do we mail now?
What?
Now that they're winning, what do we mail now?" You didn't know that?
Really?
Yeah, it was a big a team effort with groups and online fans. Everybody mailed wooden spoons to the office.
On Reddit? Or
No. It was beyond that. It was just that's kind of where it was posted at one point.
Well, we shipped toilet paper down to Louisville, so whatever.
Oh yeah, but no, it was a funny joke. Well, we did that, so should we I don't know, send them? What do we send them now that we're winning?
just cash, just DPs, young DPs that are good.
Just send a bunch of thank you cards,
donations to the FCC Foundation.
Just renew your season tickets.
Please do that as well.
Yeah,
and though, I mean, in all seriousness, people are like, "Oh, let's sign a YDP," thinking that's easy. You see, Marco Angulo is a $5 million transfer fee. Or whatever, $4 or $5 million transfer fee. Isaac Katongo, $4 million transfer fee.
Yeah.
To put up money for a young DP that's going to be productive, you are talking $10 to $15 million, and then a bucket of cash in terms of salary. So they're going to need every penny that you can scrape up.
Well, as long as they spend it on the team.
What'd you say? Gift cards?
Yeah.
Kroger gift cards. Yes.
Yeah. There you go. Or just Visa.
Venmo.
Boy, I can't believe how late it is already. A couple more things I just want to address. Junior Moreno got called up to Venezuela. Big shout out to him. It's been a bit since he's got a national team call up. First time ever. Senior team national call up. Mosquera, Colombian national team. That's not a little sneeze right there. That's a pretty big deal for him. So. Shout out to Mosquera. I think he had a couple youth call-ups, but this is the first big one, and we wish him all the success in the world. He might miss a game for FC Cincinnati, and I don't even care because
well deserved.
Well deserved. A little bit of controversy. Tavon Gray suspended due to investigation for allegations of using language that violates league policy. That came out today, right, from some reporters that Junior Moreno was the one that was directed at, but Pat Noonan saying he handled that very responsibly. And I guess so, because it didn't blow up on social. It wasn't a big deal. So Junior must have handled that quite well and just dealt with it internally. We talked about the yellow cards. Keep your eye out for that against Vancouver. As Bryan mentioned, not a big deal as much for the Open Cup game. Enjoy this week. Tomorrow should be a fun one against Pittsburgh Riverhounds. And before I let us fade into the music, we'll get your final thoughts. Bill, let's go to you first.
Well, I said it during the show already, but I'll rehash it basically, which is, it's been a tough road. They keep talking about how many games we played and how many days, and it's just felt like a grind, and you can see it on some of the tired legs at the end of these games. Barriel, I specifically called out. I feel like, that yellow card he got in that last game was just him just fatigued. It was just, coming late, just poked the ball, or poked at the ball, I should say. Didn't really get the ball. But, I think it's time for these guys to get some rest. And thankfully, when we look ahead, we see a little international break. So we did talk about Marino and Mascara getting some call-ups, but that also means that there's a little bit of a break. So after Vancouver, it's like a week and a half before our next game for most of these guys. And I think that's going to be some much needed rest. So I'm excited to see that. Hopefully they come back fresh and ready to take on the second half of the season.
Well spoken. Bryan.
Yeah, the week and a half break is going to be good for our players, but I'm a little sad that there won't be something to watch, right? I'm a little sad that also teams will gain points while we're just sitting and resting. And I like being as far ahead of the competition as we are. I think we'll continue to stay there. But anyway, my final thought is that grew up in Cincinnati. I don't live there now, but I've been a lifelong Cincinnati sports fan. And I kind of alluded to it just a minute ago talking to Bryan that, I'm used to my teams being decent, sometimes really good, and giving up matches, giving up games right at the end. We've seen it several times with the Bengals in the Super Bowl. We've seen it with the Reds. We've seen it with the Bearcats. We've seen it across the board. And we've seen it even in the years when Cincinnati had the wooden spoon. I think in that third season, how many of those games were close? They were draws. We gave them up right at the end. And this team, regardless of the schedule, regardless of the grind that they're in, they're gritty and they find ways to do it. And I'm just super proud and soaking that in a little bit. And, it's got to be an 82nd or 83rd minute goal that we put one in. It's usually us giving up that goal. And so I'm just really excited about that, to see our team all season long steal matches away at the end when it counts.
And got me hyped up. I should end the show right there, but we'll ruin it and throw it to Bryan.
Ha! Funny guy. You are so funny. And I was going to make a joke about, hey, if you like my comedy, come check me out stand up Wednesday night. But in all seriousness, mortal enemy Boston. I love it. Take the highs with the highs, low with the lows. If you coach a youth soccer team and you're 3-5, you take the lows. If you beat a team 10, 15, nothing, act accordingly and, have the opponent not come and attack me. I mean, what? So that was cool tonight. But no, seriously, I just enjoy what we're doing right now. And it's a hell of a lot more fun doing this than talking about 3 wooden spoons.
Darn right. I had fun with you guys tonight. Appreciate it. This was a fun match. Things are always better when you're winning, but appreciate the good times. FC Cincinnati, a little bit of break after this 2-game stretch, I think. So we are looking forward to it, and I know the players and the team. I saw a comment here from Kevin Michael. This team never quits. You're darn right. Bryan hit the nail on the head. We are trying not to quit either. So check out Cincinnati Soccer Talk all week. Articles. There's 3 articles on the website today. A podcast already waiting in your feed this morning. This show will be waiting in your feed tomorrow morning. Thanks to everybody who does their work around here, and stay tuned. Join us next week as we break down whatever happened versus Vancouver and the US Open Cup. We'll see you later.